Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover them all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. Well, lead stories. So much has happened today that I'm still not 100%. I've got these glasses on because my eyes are killing me right now from staring at computer screens. The blue lights killing me. I know you can turn blue light off, and I pretty much have it off on everything, but there's still things that I look at on a daily basis with blue light that emits blue light, killing me. So I'm struggling still. But that said, today was just a great day to be a Washington fan. Now, nothing has happened that is tangible that we can sink our teeth into quite yet, but there aren't many days like today. If you're a Washington Redskins football team, Commanders, whatever you call this team, Skins, I don't give a shit. If you're a fan of this team, today felt good. Not great. It felt damn good, though. And I'll lay out all of the reasons why. So first things first, celebrate. We're on a 3-game win streak. I'm dressed in all black like the Omen, and we haven't seen a loss in almost a month. Why am I dressed in all black? Of course you know what it is. It's the blackout. It's the blackout. Got my Jay-Z going. Y'all don't know nothing about that album cover. For some of y'all, y'all do. Some of y'all, y'all don't. But we'll talk more about that. We got so much time to talk about the Vikings. We will crack that game open today. Talk about the Vikings. We'll take our first look at the Minnesota Vikings and what it'll take to get it done against them as we start to turn the page from the Indianapolis Colts win. Chase Young hit the practice field for the first time since his injury last November against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is a step in the right direction for him to be back on the field, helping his team win football games. I told you guys yesterday, I had a source tell me that they aren't preparing him to play this week, but rather next week on the road at Philadelphia. That's not a guarantee, however. There's still a chance that he could play this week. They're not ruling anything out, but when they started that shot clock today, that was with the plan to have him play next week. So we'll see, and we'll talk more about what was said at the podium. He spoke, Ron spoke, they spoke about his situation. We'll talk about that a little bit later. That was another good piece of news for us today. How about Brian Robinson getting shot right before the start of the season? Couple of assailants. We saw their pictures. No one came forward. These guys seem to have gotten away scot-free. We especially wanted the guy that pulled the trigger. Well, looks like we've got some developments. An arrest has been made. Hell yeah. Get their ass. Same way you felt when they got Rivera when he shot Sean Taylor, right? They got Eric Rivera. And you're like, hell yeah, get all of their asses. So that's another great piece of news for Washington fans today. I mean, it's almost like years and years of punishment that we've taken. They decided to pile up all this good and again, you almost feel like, what did we do to deserve this? But we deserve this. We deserve to have a day like this. Now, don't get it twisted. All of this is great. I want to win. You guys know how I am, okay? But I definitely want the bastards that shot Brian Robinson. So that shit was like music to my ears when I heard that there was an update and then later found out that they made an arrest. Hell yeah. So That was another great piece of news. But nothing trumps. Babe, can you get my water out of the freezer? Thanks. Nothing trumps the news that I woke up to this morning. I took a nap and woke up to some more news that made the news that I woke up to this morning make all that much more sense. You guys know what the hell I'm talking about. So, thank you. So, this morning, I get up and haven't checked my phone yet, dealing with the kids. You know how it is, man. You got a couple of 10-month-olds. Last thing you're thinking about is what's going on socials. So I don't get to my phone for a while. But I eventually get to my phone, and to my surprise, what is this? Am I seeing this right? Dan Snyder's having the team essentially appraised and having preliminary discussions about potentially selling the team. Now, you know how I am. I'm skeptical as hell. This shit doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not buying it, right? You're not going to sell me on the fact that he's selling the team, because Dan isn't going down without a fight. And nothing has changed since the last time we spoke. And so, to me, yep, Jim Irsay said what he said, and you know, his attorneys have said what they've said. And to me, his statement from the attorneys essentially says, hey, we're going to fight this shit. Which is what I expect from Dan. To go down kicking and screaming like a 4-year-old petulant little child. So that's not that statement that I saw. The one that the Washington Commanders press release put out about the Bank of America and you know, the Snyders inquiring and having them look into it. I'm thinking that might be for some minority shareholders. That's what I told myself, because I'm like, it just doesn't make any sense. Why would Dan all of a sudden just decide to wake up one morning and say, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to sell. He knew the team was worth a ton of money. He saw how much the Broncos sold for. He's seen other franchises sell. Like, this is not new news. He knew that this team could net him 5, 6, maybe upwards of $6.5 billion. Okay. He's no dummy. The minute he acquired 100% of the team, he knew that this thing was going to be worth a ton. So that's not why. That's not the money. So then I'm thinking, it's got to be to get minority shareholders. Does he have to have minority shareholders? No, he doesn't have to have them. But he's done this before, where he's gone through Bank of America, who he does bank with, to have them look into helping him get minority shareholders. He's done that before, previously. So in my mind, that's what he was doing again. Why? Because he can't afford to buy a stadium by himself. He needs help. That was my rationale. No one's going to help him build a stadium. No city, no state, no one is jumping in bed with Daniel Snyder. So he needs help. So you bring on some minority shareholders with deep pockets, and you put your money together, and you find a way to build your stadium. And it's going to be right where FedEx Field is, right in the parking lot next to it, because you don't have any other land. That's what my thought process was. So I wasn't as happy. Everybody else, I'm on social medias, and I'm looking at everybody else's feed, and They're singing "Oh Happy Day" and they're going nuts. And I'm like, do you guys know something that I don't know? I won't allow myself to be fooled again. So my wife, she looks over at me and she says, well, what if he is trying to sell? What would you do? I said, oh, you don't know? We dancing in the street. We dancing in the street. If he sells the team, it's a party. Fiesta, 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 fiesta. Woo! It's a party. So, but I wasn't sold. Not at that time. However, I go to sleep, I take a nap. And I wake up from my nap. And I look at my phone, I look at my mobile device. And I say, make it make sense. I asked the man upstairs, I said, make it make sense to me, because this doesn't make sense. He says, here you go. Breaking news. Federal prosecutors open criminal investigation into allegations commanders engaged in financial improprieties. Bingo! There's the smoking gun. That's why his ass is thinking about selling. Oh my God, this is really happening. Shake it, warrior. We dancing in the streets. Shake it, warrior. Ah! So I feel like I'm about to get my team back. Now, I don't want to get too excited. I've done this before. I came dressed in all white. We thought we were about to come into the light from the darkness. And then we got slapped with a harsh, cold reality of, nah, that's not enough. He's not going anywhere. This one feels different. I told you guys when the ESPN article came out, I said, this feels like the beginning of the end for Daniel Snyder. I said, even though it seems like we're still far away, and we are, I said, it feels like the beginning of the end for Daniel Snyder. You can feel it. The gears are turning. And I said, when Irsay spoke out, that right there is a sign that shit's crumbling, because these guys stand united. Divided they fall, but united, their asses stand. Whether they're wrong or not, they fight for one another. Well, they're not all fighting for Daniel Snyder anymore. And these criminal charges, this investigation rather, that's being opened, to me, he's like, you know what? Let me just get my shit and go. You know what? I don't even need this. I hope that's his thought process. And I hope that we find out here in the next week, 2 weeks, month, 2 months, that he is selling the team. And at this point, I don't even care to who. You know, what's crazy is that I was telling my wife, and I've said this to her multiple times. Everybody assumes that it can't get any worse. And I don't think it can. But it could be just as bad. Like the next person to get the team, or people, you know, to own the team, could be just as bad as Daniel Snyder. I can't imagine them being any worse. But this is one of those times where you're like, the grass can't be any browner on the other side. Right? That grass may not be green on the other side. It damn sure ain't this brown, no. So whatever that grass is, it's better than this shit. At some point, you're even like, you know what? I'd rather have no grass, start from scratch, than to have this shit here. So I don't really know what to think, but I feel like this is strike two. One more and he's out of there. And I'm hoping that we don't even have to get to a point where they got to force him out. He just decides, you know what? I'm going to take my money and run. I had a hell of a hustle for 23 years. I came into this thing. I don't know how much they paid for the team in 99, him and that investment group. But whatever it is, he's going to walk away with probably tenfold the amount of money that he invested. I know one thing's for sure. It wasn't 5.6 billion, which is what Forbes is evaluating it at, right? And Forbes valuation is just the starting point. That's not what you're probably going to get. It's probably going to be north of that. If Forbes valuation is 5.6 billion, he's probably going to get 6 billion for it or more than that. So whatever the case may be, that part of it, I don't give a shit about. I just want him gone. And waking up from my nap to that news that he was being investigated, or the Commanders, which means Daniel Snyder, being investigated for financial improprieties, that's the smoking gun. That's what made the information that was disseminated earlier today make sense. That's because before him just randomly deciding, yeah, you know what? I should go to Bank of America and inquire about, selling the team. See if I can get their help to kind of see what getting this ball started and this process moving looks like. That doesn't even sound right. Not for a guy that is vowed to fight tooth and nail. Something had to trigger that. There it is. That's what triggered it. And that might mean he actually is looking to get the hell out. I can tell you what. There haven't been many days like this as a fan of this organization. It really, truly hasn't. Look, he's not gone yet. So nothing will, the only thing that could beat the day Daniel Snyder is no longer this owner, the owner of this organization, is if we win a Super Bowl. That's the only day that could trump that. So this is not that or the other thing. But to have Chase Young, potentially coming back this week, probably not, but just having him back on the practice field, learning that there's a new development in the Brian Robinson Jr. case, and that they've made an arrest. Being on a 3-game heater, going into a massive Week 9 contest in which we're having our first ever blackout game at the crib, and then finding out that there's a chance that Daniel Snyder may be actually selling this thing without a fight. I feel like I should go play some lottery tickets or something. At a bare minimum, grab a scratch off. This feels too much like right. I don't get to say this often, but damn, it feels good to be a member of this fan base. Don't say that very often. Today was one of those days. We don't get many of them. What a day. What a day. What an effing day. Shake it, Warrior. We about to go dancing in the streets. In other news, we heard from head coach Ron Rivera. We heard from quarterback Taylor Heineke. We heard from edge rusher Chase Young. Got our first injury report for the week against the Vikings, Week 9. I've got some tickets to give away, so I'll give you information on that. Matter of fact, I don't need to delay that because I'll forget. My mind is bad. So if you're watching this video now, here's what you do. Use the hashtag blackout. If you want an opportunity, and remember, you have to be a member of either Patreon or the Mob Squad to be eligible for these tickets. We're not just giving these away to anybody, right? Hashtag blackout. You have to leave it in the comment section of this video, not the live chat of this, video, okay? Keep that in mind. So you actually have to go into the comment section of this video and leave the hashtag blackout. Tomorrow we will give those tickets away. Okay. So, and I'll remind you throughout the course of this video, but we'll give those tickets away. Put 2 more Washington Commanders fans' asses in seats, coming all black. All right, just like your man Louie T is right now, dressed in all black like the Omen, but the Omen ain't for us. It's for them. Anyway, I digress. Speaking of them, week number 9, injury report. Let's take a look at both teams and what's going on with their injury situations as we head into this big game for the 2 combatants. This is the slimmest our injury report has looked in a long time. Now, I say that, and still there's probably 10 names up here. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Still 8 names, right? But it's been 10, 12, the last couple of weeks. Shit, probably more like a last month or so. It's down to 8. I will tell you this, though. Damn, is it an impactful 8? Man, these are some really big-time names. So it's not about the quantity. It's about the quality. There's some quality names on it. But with that said, Jahan Dotson, hamstring, didn't practice. Again, Wednesday isn't, the end-all, be-all. Thursday is the day. No practice on Thursday, no game on Sunday, okay? I'm just going to tell you, I don't expect Jahan Dotson or Cole Holcomb or Chase Young, for that matter, to play on Sunday. I think we'll get all of those guys back for the Monday night contest, week 10 at Philadelphia, however. So just keep your fingers crossed. I hope I'm wrong. Holcomb, as I just mentioned, did not practice with the foot injury. Ron talked about it. We'll talk about what Ron had to say about all these guys. David Mayo, hamstring, did not practice. He's been dealing with that hamstring for the last 3 weeks. He played last week. We'll see if he can't go. Wow. I mean, we were already super thin. Now you're looking at John Boombastic to come in and play ball. And the biggest difference is the Colts are more of a run-based. Well, I shouldn't even say that because the Colts haven't really been running the football. But we knew they were going to run it a lot more with Sam Ehlinger at quarterback. That you can't make the mistake of thinking that's what the Vikings are going to necessarily do. They're going to open the thing up and throw it. So it'd be nice to have Holcomb back this week, but if he's not healthy, it's not going to do us much of any good anyway. J.D. McKissick, neck. Remember, that was the same injury. Now, it could be something different with his neck, but remember, it was his neck that kept him out the final, 5 weeks of the season last year. He got hurt against Seattle and missed the final 5 games, which were all division opponents. So that's not good to hear that J.D. McKissick's neck is bothering him. He wears that little, I don't know if you've ever seen that little neck thing around his neck. You see players wear that. It's almost like I don't want to call it like a brace, but it's like a vibration. It's like a shock vibration type of collar around their neck to try to help their neck, stay where it needs to be. So that's not good that he's not practicing. Hopefully it's nothing serious. Logan Thomas, calf. He was limited on Wednesday. He played last week with it. We'll see what happens on Thursday if he's a full participant, if he's limited again. He played last week. Him being limited, I don't know if that's more of just a little sore or really don't feel great. We'll see. Cole Turner, concussion limited. I expect him back this week. I expect Cole Turner back in the lineup this week. Jonathan Allen, knee, full. Not worried about J.A. Tyler Larson back. That one scared me until I saw full. Now, I need to see full again Thursday, and then I'm not worried about Tyler Larson. But I don't ever want to see Tyler Larson on the injury report. Like I just, whoever's playing center, I just don't want to see you up here at all. Period. So I got scared when I saw his name. Then I saw what he was up there for, and I got even more afraid. And then I saw full, and I'm like, oh, okay. Let's see how he feels on Thursday. Ron's big thing is, all right, let's see how they feel the next day. I want to see how he feels tomorrow, if he practices in full tomorrow. And keep in mind, today's practice, as Ron laid out, this was no pads, no helmets. Ron wanted to take it easy. Felt like they had been going hard the last 3 weeks. It's been a grueling little taxing schedule. And look, we haven't had a bye week. We're 9 weeks in. And so he just felt like the fellas needed a break. So this was a glorified walkthrough, essentially. And so take it with a grain of salt. You see full, okay, it was a walkthrough. You see DMP, it's a walkthrough, but they didn't practice. And if they had practiced, they wouldn't have practiced. So, again, take it for what it's worth. We transition to the Vikings. There's really nothing major here. There are two monster names on this list, but I think they're both going to play. So it doesn't really there are three monster names on this list, but two in particular. Cam Bynum, he's not even injured, so we're not even going to do that. Jalen Naylor, illness, okay, he'll probably be okay, but we'll see. Dalvin Tomlinson, that's a big run stuffer. Calf, didn't practice. That's okay. We'll take that. But Cam Dantzler is one of their corners. Neck, limited. Okay, we'll see about that. That's a big one if he can't go. Zadarius Smith was the one I was kind of circling on the list because I told you guys on Sunday after the game that he had injured himself versus the Cardinals. I didn't know if he had returned to the game or not, but I saw him limp off the field. But he's eaten this year. 8.5 sacks already. He's a beast. I'd love to have him not play, but I think he's going to play personally. Adam Thielen, knee, full. You already see where that's going. It would have been nice to get a break with him not playing because with the addition of TJ Hawkinson, already having Justin Jefferson, having Adam Thielen, and also having KJ Osborne, they got weapons, man. That shit's scary for our secondary. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. So they don't really have any big-time injuries. I don't see anybody missing this game that could impact the outcome truly. So there you have that. So Ron stepped to the podium today, and sometimes our media gets on my nerves because they just don't read the room correctly. The man's mother passed away on Monday, and the first thing out of whomever gets the mic first should be, Ron, my condolences to you and your family for your loss. That's the first thing that should come out of your mouth. These mother effers jumped right in to the Daniel Snyder shit. Just bypassed the human decency and the sympathy aspect, went straight to some Daniel Snyder shit. First of all, Ron looked like shit. He looked like a man that just lost his mom or lost a family member. Hadn't shaved, looked like he didn't sleep well the night before, probably cried a little bit. You could tell he was impacted. They didn't give a shit. First two people that spoke, Nikki Javala, and I don't remember who was second. Neither one of them decided it was a good idea to to offer up condolences. Shame on them. It was the third person. Don't know who it was, but I was, whomever it was, I was thanking them. I was saying, thank you. Thank you for having some human decency. Okay. To acknowledge the loss of his mother. I was disappointed. I really, truly was. But I don't know why. Because this is what we get from our media. Nonetheless, you know, Ron deflected all of the Daniel Snyder questions, as he should. You know, he's been through this before, as somebody brought up during the presser, that he was the Carolina Panthers head coach during their ownership change from Jerry Richardson to David Tepper. And so he's seen how this process works, but he's like, that shit doesn't really matter. I'm want to talk about the Minnesota Vikings. Like, none of that stuff, you know, matters at all to us. We trying to win football games, period. So Ron deflected that. I love the way he did it. But talked about his mom, which was really nice to hear. You know, talked about his upbringing and what his mom instilled in him. And he almost broke down, man. You know, it's tough when you get into those moments and you find yourself talking about somebody that means so much to you and they're no longer here. And you try to fight back those tears, man. It gets tough. He got choked up. Luckily, he was at the very end of his answer, so he was able to just, you know, compose himself and then finish it and then go on to some football. And I think that one was from the Channel 7 guy, the one that we lambasted for going after Carson Wentz. He's really not a bad dude, the Channel 7 dude. He's one of those dudes, like, I wouldn't be shocked if I found out that he was from, like, Jersey or New York. He's one of those, comes off as abrasive. Scott Abraham is his name. Comes off as a little bit abrasive, but it's not intentional. That's just his personality. Like, I know you probably know people who, they're really nice people, but if you don't know them, they're assholes, right? And then you get to know them and you're like, oh, they're really sweet. But that's how most people from up north are, you know, just kind of not necessarily standoffish, but that's kind of how they have to be because of where they are in their surroundings. You know, you got to be able to kind of have that hard exterior, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's what Scott Abraham is. But anyway, I digress. I'm all over the place. He was the one that brought up the question. Ron talked about his mom, and it was great listening to him talk about his mom and kind of, you know, lift her memory. He talked about last year a player losing their mother. And for those of you not aware, that player was Jeremy Reeves. The mother passed away during the season last year, right before the Raiders game. Ron told him, you go home, you spend the week with your family, you come back Sunday, you be ready to play, you meet us in Vegas. He did that. He played well. They won the game. And he said that's what this team does. They rally around players or coaching staff members. Remember, our quarterbacks coach lost his dad, you know, earlier this year. Like, yeah, this is not the first time someone's lost someone. Montez Sweat lost his brother last year. This team has dealt with a lot over the last couple of years. Obviously, Dwayne Haskins passing away, Terry McLaurin being, you know, a really good friend of his, you know, and you know, Chase Young. And there's so many guys that, you know, were really tight with him that are on this team, Curtis Samuel. So this team has dealt with a lot. They really have. And this is just another obstacle, hurdle, call it whatever you want, but they're going to rally around each other. And I've already told you, and I told you this yesterday, I look at this as emotional gasoline. That's what this is to me. They're going to use this as a rallying cry for the week. And if the Vikings aren't careful, they could get steamrolled, you know, behind this. But Ron talked about Chase Young, you know, said he looked good out there. Obviously, no helmets, no pads. Keep that in mind. But so because there was no helmets and pads, Chase didn't have to go to the side field, right? He didn't have to be shooed away. He actually could participate in the entire practice. So that was the benefit to doing that as well. So he looked great. Ron was encouraged. He said that, again, we'll see how he feels tomorrow. We'll go from there. Then he was asked the question that everybody wants the answer to. Is he going to play this Sunday? To which Ron responded, that's a bit premature. We're going to follow the doctor's orders. When we started this clock, I don't know if this week was really the end game, but you never know. We'll see. He's not ruling it out, but Ron essentially just told you that the likelihood that Chase Young plays this week is slim and none. It's not none, but it's slim. So he talked about Jahan Dotson. He talked about Cole Holcomb. He said both of those guys, look, I think they want to be really cautious on both of those guys. But what he said was, I think, more important than, the update of those guys, because there was really no update to give, because I don't think either one of those guys are going to play. He said, getting all of these guys potentially back at some point, and whether that's next week or the week after that, it gives this team a chance. You feel really good about all the reinforcements that you have coming down the pipeline. And that's what we've talked about. Like, you're winning these games and you're making, because keep in mind, like, we were 1-4. If you're 2-6 right now, instead of 4-4, who cares if Jahan Dotson is coming back? Who cares if Chase Young's coming back? What difference does it make? You're ass anyway. What difference does it make? We're not rushing these guys back, and when they do come back, it's not going to make that big of a difference. We're out of it. Well, that's not the case. We're literally a game out of the 7th spot in the playoffs. The 49ers are 4-4. The only reason they have the nod over us is they have a better conference record. But this is the beauty of the Juice Weasel, and I've talked about this, which is why I said if we want to end the playoffs, we just got to take care of our business. And I meant to do this yesterday on the show, but I got sidetracked and I didn't get it done. But we play every team that is in front of us that could be of some sort of a hindrance. We play them. You want them into the playoffs, just beat them. We play the Atlanta Falcons. If they don't win the division and they end up at 9-8, we play them. Beat them. The 49ers are ahead of us right now. I don't know if the Seattle Seahawks are going to win the NFC West or not. Look, I'm not a fortune teller. My money is on them not winning the division, okay? The 49ers coming back, taking that division from them. That's my guess, okay? However, let's say the 49ers, or rather the Seahawks, are for real and they're not going away and they're not handing that division over. You want in over the 49ers? Beat them. We play them later on in the season. Beat them. The Giants are in front of us as a wild card. We got to play them twice. Beat them. Right? Cowboys are in front of us. Beat them. You play them again. Right? I mean, I could go on and on and on. Vikings, they're going to win their division, so they're not a wild card threat to us. They're going to win their division. We still playing them. Beat them. Like, everything we want is right there in front of us. So there's no excuses. Everything you want is there. You just got to take care of business. So I like the opportunity that's in front of us. Ron likes the opportunity that is being presented to us and loves the fact that there is help on the way. Don't know when that help is going to arrive, but you're going to get Cole Turner back, I think, this week. Eventually you'll get Cole Holcomb back. Eventually you're going to get Chase Young back. Eventually you're going to get Jahan Dotson back. Eventually you're going to have all of these players back in the mix. So it's exciting, but you got to continue to win. Talked about the William Jackson III trade, said, look, it was, and somebody had sent me on socials the video clip of him talking to JP Finley. He seems to be giving all the heat to JP. And he pretty much told JP, he admitted, hey, we effed up. Yeah, we dropped the ball on that. I told y'all it was just a bad fit. I said, like, they misdiagnosed what he could bring to the defense. It happens. You think that this guy has these qualities and that should translate to what you do. We play primarily zone defense. It's a zone matching defense. So man, zone converts to man, right? You're playing cover 3, you're deeper than the deepest, and you're third of the field. The guy's running a deep route, you run with him. So it converts to man. All of a sudden, he runs a post, you're running with him, right? They pass things off. You stay in your, like, he just didn't fit in this defense. He just didn't. And he said, look, we realized we made a mistake. And instead of continuing on with it, and he said, we realized we made the mistake against Dallas. And that's why we benched him, or against I think it was Philadelphia game he got benched in, right? He's like, yeah, it was the I want to say it was the Philadelphia game because that was the first game with Rashad Wildgoose, if I'm not mistaken. Was the Eagles game. No, it was the Tennessee game is when he got benched because he played the Dallas game. He was horrible in the Dallas game. He missed the Eagles game. I think he missed it with an injury. That's why we got Rashad Wildgoose in that game, and that wasn't pretty. And then he came back week 4 against Dallas, got his ass whooped in that game, and that was pretty much the last straw. He came out, he missed the tackle against Derrick Henry that would have prevented them from getting the first down. On the third down, they ultimately scored a touchdown on that drive, and they said, all right, enough of this shit. Get him out of there. And that was the last we saw of William Jackson III. They had already made up their mind that they weren't going to go down this road with him. So I applaud them for that. I applaud them for even getting anything for him. I thought they were going to have to release him. So kudos to them for finding a way to find a trade partner. I thought everybody was going to just stand pat and say, y'all going to release him. So he'll pass through waivers. No one will pick him up. And then somebody will sign him as a free agent. I'm glad the Steelers said, we'll take him off your hands. No worries. I appreciate that, Steelers. So I think that was the gist of what Ron had to say. He had to say a lot. He had a lot to say, rather. Heard from Taylor Heineke. He talked about not really trying to look too far out into the future. I just love his mentality. The dude knows his place on this team. Like, he's not even trying to feed into the narrative that he should be the starter. He'll let everybody else do that for him. He's just concentrating on the next game. That's the way he should do it, because looking too far out into the future can get you got now. Just worry about now, because if you keep taking care of business, the rest will take care of itself. So, he said, somebody asked him, now that you're winning football games and this, that, and the third, you talked about playing like it's your last game, but, do you now have to temper that back and play a little bit differently? He's like, nah, that's how I got here, and that's how I played best. So I'm gonna continue to do that, and then they asked him about weapons coming back, down the road. And he's like, I mean, he didn't say it like this, but that's essentially how he's like, yeah, that shit don't help me. I can't worry about that. I got to worry about the guys that are playing now, because he can't say this, but I don't know if I'm going to be starting in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, when Jahan Dotson and all these dudes may come back. I just got to worry about the guys that are playing with me now, and they're doing a hell of a job. So I think it kind of, talking about guys that are coming back, that's cool. But one of the guys that may be coming back is the guy that might be coming to take my spot. I took his spot. I'm running with it. He handed me the baton. I'm running with it, and I don't want to give it back. So I really don't want to talk about dudes coming back on the mend. So It's a tough situation, but he's handled it well, man. He's handled it really well. I didn't see any pictures of the birds that he wore this week. If anybody's got those, I'd love to see it. I don't know if those are circulating or not, but then we heard from Chase Young. That was so refreshing. Good to see him, man. Good to see him smiling again. He's always smiling though, but I know he's chomping at the bit to get back out there. And the thing that you hear from guys all the time when you're out of the lineup is you're not a part of the team. Like you're a part of the team, but you're not a part of the team because you're away from the team. You're rehabbing. You're not a part of that brotherhood. So he just talked about just being a part of the gang again, being a part of the group. Like being a part of practice, install. He's like, it just felt good, taking reps. So he talked about pushing it. He's like, one rep with him and Logan, he was like, shit, like, hey, are we going there? Like I can take it there. And so he's like, yeah, got kind of intense. He said he got a couple of good reps against Charles Leno Jr. at tackle, because as Ron likes to call it, the show team, we called it scout team, whatever. He jumped on there a couple reps and got a win against Charles Leno. And so he said he feels good, but again, he's like, hey, won't no pads, won't no helmets on. And that's something you have to keep in mind. So again, they asked him, hey, you want to play this Sunday? That's not the right answer. No question, rather. Of course, he wants to play. It's not whether he wants. He said, I wanted to play week 1. It's not whether he wants to play. It's can you play? Are you going to play? And he's like, I'm going to just, trust the process, trust the doctors. All of that kind of points to next week, if you ask me. But again, I'm not ruling him out. But everything, all signs point to next week, Monday night, against the Eagles. So, again, we shall see. Remember, if you're interested in 2 tickets to Sunday's contest against the Minnesota Vikings, use the hashtag blackout in the comment section, not the live chat, rather the comment section of this video. I can't stress that enough. Don't leave it in the live chat and then be mad when you're not even entered in to have a chance to win them. All right. Let's take our first look at the Minnesota Vikings. So that's a good football team. Like good enough to win the Super Bowl this year. I don't think they will, but that's a good football team. They're solid on defense. They're not great on defense. You can move the football on Minnesota's defense. The biggest thing you have to do is you got to block up front because they can get pressure on the quarterback. They can get pressure on the quarterback. So if you can protect up front, then you've got a chance to really hurt their secondary. But they're not garbage in the secondary either. Harrison Smith is 80 years old, but he's still playing ball back there. Had an interception, as a matter of fact, last week against Arizona. Patrick Peterson, he's 78 years old, still playing some solid ball, right? He's no slouch over there. So they've still got some guys that know how to get it done. They've got a mixture of young guys back there in the secondary with some veterans. Same thing at linebacker. Got some veteran linebackers. All right. So, Kendricks is still doing it at a very high level, right? So they got a lot of stuff do the Minnesota Vikings defensively. But you can move the football on them. I've watched teams do it all season long. I watched the Bears have one of their best, up until that point, one of their best offensive showings. Now that's family business too. Take that into consideration. But, I've watched teams have success against them moving the football, but I've also watched teams have lulls, and we're good for a good two and a half quarter lull in a football game. So we're gonna have to find ways to be consistent against them, and I think running the football will help. And you can run against them. Teams have had success running the football against them. You can run against them, but we're gonna have to throw the football. I don't think we're gonna be allowed to run it up on them. I saw the Bears run for over 240 yards on them, but then again, the Bears run for over 240 yards on everyone. They've done it 4 weeks in a row, so that's not a great example to use. Trying to think. I don't think Arizona had a ton of success on the ground against them, but the Cardinals aren't a great, a measuring stick to use for the ground game either. And they're not the healthiest at the running back position right now either. I've seen Minnesota stifle teams this year. The Tua-less Dolphins got absolutely, put in handcuffs offensively, and they won that game. We saw what they did to the Packers in week 1. But then I've seen teams like the Lions go up and down the field again, family business. Bears moving on them consistently, family business. Cardinals, I thought, did some really good things against them. They turned it over 4 times, or 3 times rather. That's what hurt them in the game. They had chances. So I think we'll have our fair share of chances in that game. If I'm sitting here talking to you to death about what our offense may or may not be able to do. None of that shit matters if our defense can't stop their offense. That's the shit that has me nervous for this game. I can deal with their defense. I'm not worried about their defense. I'm worried about their offense. I'm worried about Justin Jefferson. I'm worried about Adam Thielen. They just added TJ Hockenson, even though I'm not as pressed about that because, again, the man literally just got there today. Okay? He just got his hands on the playbook yesterday, and there's only so much he's going to be able to do in that short period of time. So I would imagine he'll be out there for, anywhere from 15 to 20 snaps, and he'll have some catches in the game, but it won't be the kind of impact that he will have next week or the week after that, where he's a little bit more acclimated to the playbook. So not as concerned with TJ Hockenson right now, but he's still someone you got to deal with. I don't want the 1 or 2 plays that they actually throw him the football to be monster plays, right? So they just got weapons. KJ Osborne is a hell of a receiver in the slot as well. I'm nervous about all the weapons that they can throw at us. We got to get to Kirk. That's going to be the thing that saves our lives. If we can get to Kirk, then we'll have a chance to neutralize those guys. I mean, honestly, the only game they got shut down in, the one game that they lost, was against the Eagles. And while they got to Kirk a little, it wasn't because of a ton of pressure on Kirk. It was because the secondary was phenomenal. That's not our secondary. Okay? They took Darius Slay and they sicked him on Justin Jefferson, and they dared somebody else to beat him, and nobody else stepped up. We don't have that. We don't have a dog like that in our secondary. So I hate the matchup. I hate their wide receivers against our, cornerbacks or our secondary. I hate that matchup. And we're not a man-to-man team. We're not going to just say, hey, Darius, hey, Juice, get him. We're going to play zone, but I don't trust my safety running 45 yards down the field with Justin Jefferson. We've seen corners and safeties running 45 yards down the field with one guy and still get the ball mossed on them multiple times this season, or pass interference called. So I lack the confidence that's necessary to feel really good about the matchup of our defense against their offense. Can we stop Dalvin Cook? I think so. I like our chances. But that they can also be a really good perimeter run team. You know what our weakness is in the run game is being a perimeter run stopping team. So that's one of those things to keep an eye on, but because they run a lot of outside zone. But at the end of the day, what I think it's ultimately going to come down to is our ability to stop Kirk Cousins and that passing offense from dicing us up and putting up copious amounts of points on the scoreboard. Because, you know, we only go but so high, right? The key to this 3-game win streak is none of the opponents scored more than 21 points. Because we don't have much more than 21 in us, okay? You let Minnesota come in here and score 24 or 27, you can cancel Christmas on another win and 4 in a row. Because that we're not built like that right now. So we'll talk more about that, but their offense is what has me worried right now. I'll just say that. All right. Turning the show over to you guys now. I've said enough. Let's get to social media maneuvers. I'm a midnight marauder. Y'all know what it is. All right. See what y'all talking about in the chat. And I saw y'all frying me up before I got here, talking about I'm gonna be late to my own funeral. And I just said, look, I don't give a shit if I'm already dead. Who cares, right? I don't give a shit if I'm late to my funeral. I ain't here anyway, right? Anyway, it was a struggle tonight, though. Struggle tonight. DMV fan, 123. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. DMV fan 123 writes, I'm sorry, Louie, but my left hand going up. That is the perfect segue. So I had on my podcast yesterday, I had 2 questions that I wanted to ask. One was more of a Washington question. So I was like, I'm going to save that for the live stream. And I had forgotten. I'm glad that comment literally jogged my memory because it has something to do with that. And the other one was, if you watched the podcast, you know, for those of you who didn't, is what's the proper spelling of woe? The word woe. If you watch Blossom, you remember Joey Lawrence. Whoa. How do you say whoa? How do you spell it? If you're from a certain generation, my generation, then it's WHOA, right? That's how Black Rob spelled it, right? Now, baby, that's whoa, right? But if you're younger, if you're under the age of 30, you probably spell it WOAH. After closer consideration, I said, I'm not caving in. I'm keeping my shit the way that I grew up with. It's WHOA, damn it. Keeping my shit the same. Keep my shit tight, all right? But DMV fan 123. He says, I'm sorry, Louie, but my left hand going up. I want to ask y'all, do y'all rock with that song? You know, haters can't stand us. Left hand up. Who are we? The Commanders. Do y'all rock with that? Or nah? Because I don't claim that shit. I'm no disrespect to them. It was clever. It was bold. And a lot of people have received it well, right? Me, personally, I don't get down with the shit. I did like that they said left hand up because, you know, I'm a left hand dude. But a lot of people rock with it, and it's starting to circulate. Seriously, like, I thought it was a joke initially. I was like, oh, somebody doing some shit that they think is funny. No, they were dead ass. when they did that. Like, that's the anthem. And it's catching on. The team's social media account, posted a little bit of it the other day. And I saw Robert Griffin III post, the little still shot of the dude with his left hand up. And like, people are actually saying, haters can't stand us, left hand up. And I'm like, shit is catching on. I just want to know where y'all stand. Like, do y'all rock with this? Is this an anthem for y'all? This ain't my anthem. Okay. Let's be clear. It ain't my anthem. But is it yours? I want to hear from y'all. Let me know. Nick Caps, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, here's towards that billion. Hey, it'd be nice. It'd be nice. Let's see. Joshua Farish, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Joshua Farish, writes, Lou, you should gather up all your subs and then buy the team together. That way you will own and coach the team. Well, if I owned the team, I wouldn't coach the team. I wouldn't. I'm not good enough to do that. Now, if I own the team, I feel like I can make some really good decisions as to how I would want to go about, moving forward with the organization. But I wouldn't coach the team. But what's crazy is me plus all of my subs wouldn't even come remotely close to having enough money to buy the organization. So that sounds good, but we ain't even close, bro. We ain't even close. Joshua Farish, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, not if, but when he sells the team. I like that. I like that. Speak it into existence. Do that. Are you coming to party with the people in the streets of DC? You damn right. Shake it, warrior. We dancing in the streets. You damn right. I'm coming. That'll be our form of a ticker tape parade. That'll be our form of a ticker tape parade. Heavy K, Commander fan, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, hopefully my check clears. I made to the Snyders. At this point, I don't even know if it matters. They've been fudging numbers, it seems like, for a while now. So whether it did or it didn't, they always seem to make it work. Kevin the PRF, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but just in case, re-up your Prime membership to order the drone to bring your beer to the upper deck. I'm not getting ahead of myself either. And a lot of you are assuming that what's the Amazon guy is going to buy the team. Owns the Washington Post thing. So you guys are convinced if Dan sells, he's going to be the one to buy. That's essentially how you guys are wired right now. I don't know if that'll be the case. I don't know what kind of an owner he would be. He seems like a helicopter type of owner, which that's what Daniel Snyder was when he first got it, and that wasn't good. I'm not saying that the guy that buys the team needs to just back off. I mean, you spend $6 billion on something, you damn right. I mean, I'm invested. I'm going to be involved in the day-to-day activities of the team, but he's also not a football guy. You know, David Tepper was a minority shareholder, you know, of the Pittsburgh Steelers before he became the sole owner of the Carolina Panthers. So he had been in an organization already. He had seen what it looked like. Now, he was not in control, but he saw the inner workings of what it would take. And so he had some working knowledge and experience. This ain't Amazon, right? You ain't selling goods and services. So, I don't know. We'll see. You ain't selling electronic devices. But again, I don't give a shit who buys the team. I just want him gone. And anybody associated with him. By the way. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JP writes, good to see you as always, Lou. Likewise, JP. Says, walls are really closing around Dan now. They are, man. It feels like it's getting real tight on him, man. Feels like shit's really, really closing in on him. He says, I believed Dan was eventually going to be gone somehow. If he gets busted for improper finances, it's over for him. I don't even know if Dan wants to allow it to get, especially if he knows he's done some wrong shit. If he knows he's done some fraudulent shit, why do you even let them investigate? They're only investigating because you're hanging on. If you get if you get out in front of this thing, you sell the team. A lot of these investigations, I think there are like 6 or 7 right now that are pending on him. You drop, you know, they'll drop a lot of these investigations. A lot of these investigations are to get him the hell out of here. So I think that's why he's starting. Like, the one thing Dan ain't trying to do, he ain't trying to go to prison. You know, he ain't trying to go to prison. He ain't trying to be paying no massive fines. I think that's why he's like, all right, man. Remember, financial pressure was the reason why he changed the name, right? Wasn't going to do it for any other reason. Didn't do it because it was the moral thing to do. He did it because he was about to lose all the sponsorships that he had, the big ones with the team. And they can't survive that way. Got to have sponsorships. If he sells this team, it won't be because it's the right thing to do. It'll be because there's some type of threat, whether it's financial or it's physical in terms of you being thrown in damn jail. He's not built to be in jail. Even the white-collar jail, the Martha Stewart jail, he's not built for that. So I think that the threat of any type of violence, whether financially or physical, I think that might be enough to chase him. The threat has never been real, which is why he's never been flirting around with selling. I think the threat is now real. True Eminem Mullinex. Hashtag HTTC. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I heard Peyton Manning may be by the team. He was at the Colts game when we won. Well, he was at the Colts game, had nothing to do with us. I don't know if you were insinuating that, but he was there because they were retiring or putting up into the Ring of Honor his left tackle for much of his career in Tariq Glenn. So all the Colts were there for that. Marvin Harrison, I'm pretty sure you've seen the picture he took with Terry. Terry talked about that after the game. All the guys were there to support Tariq Glenn, who was going into the Ring of Fame. So that's why Peyton was there. Peyton has made it very clear that he would love to own an NFL franchise. He almost played for this franchise when Mike Shanahan was here back in 2011. So there is that. Any way you can get in, you try to get in. Everyone knows that this, I remember Brian LaFemina calling this organization a sleeping giant, which is crazy to say, thinking about the historic nature of this franchise and its illustrious history, yet it is a sleeping giant. But that's what it is. You know, this team doesn't bring in nearly the amount of money and revenue that it should. This team doesn't garner nearly the attention that it should. And you get the right people in here and it'll go right back to where it's supposed to be. Manning's got the money, not by himself, right? He's not worth billions of dollars, but he's worth a lot of money. But he'd need a group. He'd be a part of an investment group. He wouldn't be able to do it by himself. So, and there are not many people out there that can. Understand that. But I'm pretty sure he's interested. Let's see. Take Command for Life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Greatly, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, nice shades. Thank you. And these are literally just to block the blue light. These are blue light blockers. So these aren't like shades I go out of the house with, but I'm a stunner shade dude. Don't get it twisted. Like, you know, everybody's got a vice. My vice is shades. I'll spend money on some shades. I love, you know, sunglasses. So, but even my blue blockers got to be dope. Understand that. Thank you, though. Take Command for Life. Greatly appreciate that. King of the North, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, talk about changing the narrative. We are getting our wish. Blackout equals Dan's funeral. I don't know if they, you know, it's crazy because I remember when the schedule for our jerseys came out. And I very vividly remember when I did the live stream when we went over this, talking about why did they pick week 9 against the Vikings of all the games that they could have worn black in. I get that we don't have a primetime game at night. And there's, you know, which would have been ideal, which is where you would do a blackout type of scenario. So the Vikings in week 9, no, that's such a random opponent. You know, why not pick an NFC East team to do this against? Too early in the season to do it week 3 against Philadelphia. Too late in the season to do it week 18 against Dallas. The Giants game, maybe, you know, but that one is week 13, or is that week 15 after the bye? I'm not sure which is which. And now looking back on it, it turned out to be the perfect time, man. I mean, even if we didn't get the Dan news and this wasn't Dan's, you know, quote unquote funeral, just this being a 3-game win streak, 4-4 in the season, and a massive game, that would have been enough. Adding this fuel to the fire just makes it that much more of a necessity for everyone that is a Commanders fan to show up in all black. So, yeah, we're changing the narrative. That's what we're doing. Speaking of changing the narrative, I meant to do this on the show yesterday. Once again, I forgot. But I wanted to talk about the NFC East. Giants lost, Cowboys won, Eagles won. We win. Cowboys and Giants are 6-2. Eagles are 7-0. We're 4-4. The combined record of the four teams through 8 weeks of football, win percentage wise, is the highest in NFL history since the merger, AFL NFL merger. I am so proud to be a part of that. And it took us going on this 3-game win streak to make it happen, because we were dragging the division down. And I know we're barely a part of this discussion, but we're a part of the discussion. And you guys know that's all I wanted. I wanted us to be at the forefront. I wanted us to be where the Eagles are, or at a bare minimum where the Eagle or the Giants and Cowboys are, like right in the mix. Iron sharpens iron. I wanted this division to be won at 13-4, and the second place team be at 12-5, and the third place team be at 11 or 10 wins, and the fourth place team be at 10 or 9 wins, and just look at the division as a whole and say, hey, ain't no easy wins around here. Everybody's putting in work, and in order to get it done, you had to go through the gauntlet. So when you look at somebody else trying to challenge you, you like, that's food right there. We about to eat, because we had to go through our division. You get to the playoffs and you're playing the Minnesota Vikings, or you're playing the Seattle Seahawks. You're like, oh, that's food. I had to go through Dallas. I had to go through Philadelphia. I had to go through the Giants. I'm not afraid of them. And we're not quite there yet. Understand that. We're 4-4. Okay. We're barely scratching the surface of that conversation. But we scratched and clawed our way up out of the cellar. All right. I mean, we were in not the basement. We were under the basement. Okay. And we crawled our way up into the basement. And now you can actually hear us. We were yelling, and I told you there was no one around. All we heard was our own voice echoing. Now we're yelling, and you're like, damn, there's Dallas and there's New York right there. Think about it. They're 6-2, we're 4-4. That's a 2-game difference. We win this week. One of them loses next week. Dallas doesn't play. They're on a bye week. Okay. Well, let's say the Giants lose this week and we win. We're 1 game away from the Giants in the standings. Like, we're within an earshot, right? So I'm so proud of this division. I hate the other teams. Don't get it twisted. All right. And I root like hell for them every week to lose. But so it's hard for me to get what I want. But at the same time, I'm proud of the fact that this division has gotten the respect that it deserves. And I'm glad that we were able to get where we needed to be to get the division what it deserves. Because when all 4 teams are doing well, you can't ignore the division. And that stat is pretty cool that we set a record. And the only way they were going to set that record is if all 4 teams joined together. So anyway, I just wanted to say that. Trevor Patch, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, hey, Lou, catch you on playback, drained from the organization's roller coaster. Is Ron the owner killer? First head coach to run 2 owners out of town. I won't put that on Ron. He had a creep of an owner in Carolina, and he has a creep of an owner in Washington. So what I think the real question is why do those guys seem to be attracted to Ron? And what does that say about Ron? But Ron just wants a job. So I'm not mad at him in either situation for taking the opportunities that were presented to him. But You can't pick your ownership. You know, they hire you. You don't hire them. So, yeah. But you know what? You might be right. Ron might be the absolute, you know, secret weapon that we didn't know we needed to get this thing done. This whole time, we've been looking for all of this stuff, the smoking gun, this, that, and the third. And it may have all along been Ron Rivera. And some of you might, you know, think Ron needs to go, but you may need to actually bow down at the feet of Ron Rivera, because he may be the key to getting rid of Daniel Snyder when it's all said and done. He may be the guy. Got rid of Jerry Richardson, and he may do the same for Daniel Snyder. He might be the guy. He might be the guy. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Video channel. Right. Bezos. That's his name. Jeff Bezos. I don't know why I couldn't think of his goddamn own name. Thank you for that. Says Bezos rubbing hands like Birdman. Got that Birdman hand rub going. I don't know if he's like, I don't know if he's doing that or not, but you know, what's funny about that is everybody just assumes he wants to buy this team. And that may be the case. And he may have already made it abundantly clear that he wants to buy this team. And I'm just not aware of that because I don't keep up with that, because you know what my thought process is. Dan wasn't selling, so I don't really give a shit about any of that stuff. But everybody just assumes that he wants to buy this organization. Who says that he wants an NFL organization? He probably does. I mean, who doesn't? Who wouldn't want to buy an NFL organization? These things are cash cows. You can't go broke. You can only make money having one of these organizations. So it's a hell of an investment. It's hard. There aren't many things you can say, I'm going to invest $6 billion into this, and I should be able to double my money. But that's essentially what he would be doing if he bought this organization and didn't sell it until he was on his deathbed. I don't know how old Jeff Bezos is, but and these types of things you just hand down to the next generation. You don't sell them. But anyway, I digress. Take command for life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, never had a happier day as a Washington fan. That is a shame, first and foremost. Don't let anybody else but us hear you say that, okay? Because what that signifies is that you haven't experienced a lot of winning as a fan, which is a damn shame. But that's most of you. A lot of you haven't seen a lot of winning with this organization, and so you have no idea, and there haven't been a lot of reasons to cheer over the last 30 years. So this was a great day, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, there was a lot of positive, but the Snyder news trumps all of it, because our biggest thing was, doesn't matter what we do, who we go out and get, who we sign, this, that, and the third. None of it's going to change until we get rid of Dan Snyder. All starts at the top. Well, if you can finally get rid of him and change that narrative, then, I mean, wow. It changes a lot. Changes a lot. A lot of good things happened today. I saw so many tweets, what a time to be alive, everything, listing everything that happened today. And it felt good, man. I haven't seen this much positivity within the fan base in a long time. I seen Burgundy Blog tweet out something today. Haven't seen him tweet in like 6 years. So that's what Daniel Snyder, That's the one thing we could all agree on. And look, this fan base is somewhat fractured in different directions for different reasons. The one thing that is a common thread among us all, we can all agree on this one thing, is that Daniel Snyder needs to go. There isn't one other thing that can galvanize this entire fan base. Not Chase Young. There's people in the fan base that think he's a bust. They should have drafted a quarterback all along. They knew Justin Herbert was going to be great. No, you didn't, but okay, cool. Not Ron Rivera. Some people think he should be fired. Others think, oh, Ron, is doing a great job, this, that, and the third. Taylor Heineke. We can't agree on anything. Nothing. Scott Turner stinks. I think a lot of people probably would agree with him not being a great coordinator, but not everybody. But the one thing we can all agree on is Daniel Snyder needs to go. Amar, 2 times official. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, feel bad for the mob. Lou ain't giving out no more tickets, LOL. Hashtag LHU. Hashtag who are we? I am definitely giving out tickets. The only tickets that I may not give away are the Falcons tickets. My sister's a Falcons fan. I think she wants to go to that game, and if she does, I'm going to give them to her. So those would be the only tickets that, as of right now, may not be available. And I'll check with her. She may not ultimately. It might be cold as shit, and she might be like, "Nah, I'm good. You can go ahead and get those away. I'm straight." But she has never seen her Falcons in person. They're coming here. They're right in the backyard. I'm pretty sure she's going to want to go. So, y'all know what it is. I got y'all. Y'all know I'm going to hold y'all down. Quentin Ruiz, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I know it's still early, but who do you see us resigning? Do you see us resigning Gibby? It is early. This is year 3 of a 4-year rookie contract. It's hard to say. It really, truly is. While he is a dynamic weapon and a guy that I think they really see the true value of him now, what is his true value is the question. What is a viable comp for him that's in the NFL of a guy that's already been paid? Is there even one to look at? I think the closest player to Antonio Gibson, and that guy might actually be better than Gibby at doing this, is Cordero Patterson, right? He didn't sign a massive deal with the Atlanta Falcons. Look at the deal he just signed. I don't remember the specifics. I think it was like a 2-year, $15 million deal, something along those lines. So if that's right, and again, don't quote me on that. It was something along those lines. If that's somewhere in the neighborhood, let's just assume that that's correct. 2 years, $15 million. That's $7.5 million, right? So let's say that's Gibby's market. A deal that'll pay him roughly $7 million per year. Could Washington offer him a 4-year, $28 million? Absolutely. If he's willing to take that, yeah, hell yeah. I don't even know if he would get that much. Again, that's why I said it's early. If he continues to play well this year, he's already set a record. I think the most touchdowns for a Washington player in their first, I think he's played in 28 games or something like that. What is this, year 3? I think it's 32 games. It's got to be more than that. It's got to be 38 games or something like that. I can't remember. But he's got the most touchdowns over 38 game span or something like that. I think he missed in his rookie season. He got hurt against the Steelers. He missed the two games after that. I believe he missed the Seattle game, and he came back for the Carolina game. So he only missed one game. He missed that San Francisco game. He got hurt against the Steelers. He missed the San Francisco game, and he missed the Panthers game or the Seattle game, and then he came back for the Panthers game. So he missed 2 games in his rookie season. So that's 14 games he played in. And then last year, I don't think he missed any games at all, if I'm not mistaken. He was banged up, but I don't think he missed any games. So that would have put him in 31, and then we've played 8 this season. So I'm going to say that number is, I'm probably off, and it's probably 38 because I think the number that I saw on the little stat was 38 games. But I think he's played in 39 games, but whatever. He's been really good. Whatever the number is, he's been really good. He hasn't matched the production from a touchdown standpoint from his rookie season, but we've seen the explosiveness, the dynamic ability this year. I think you're going to see more of it as this season progresses. I think they've carved out a niche for him. I think he is a guy that you need to re-sign. I do, but we'll see. We'll see how they value him, and we'll see what the market determines for him and what they decide is good value for him. But I do think he's going to be back. Mari Too Slimy, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB. Mob, you know what to do. Show Mari Too Slimy some love. Welcome him with open arms to the MOBB. Looking forward to chopping it up with you. Feel like we've done this before. Maybe you upgraded. Maybe you had to leave and you're back. Whatever the case may be, I'm glad to have you back. Look forward to chopping it up with you in the future. As always, welcome to the squad. Mari Too Slimy. All right. King of the North. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. King of the North writes, this is a very close locker room. Only thing they can do to keep the gang around next year is win. Plus playing for Rivera and his mama. It's a terrible matchup, but we should be motivated. I agree. It's a terrible matchup for us. There aren't many situations that I feel good about. Like over these 3 games that we've won, I felt good about a lot of the situations that, we could find ourselves in. Against the Bears, wasn't scared of their offense. Defense is okay, but wasn't scared of that either, even though their defense kicked our ass, which is what isn't hard to do, or wasn't, especially with Wentz under center. But I wasn't afraid of any of those matchups. Just thought we just needed to go out and play good ball, and we'd have a chance. Green Bay, told you that was the worst Packers team I'd seen Aaron Rodgers lead in at least 7-8 years, probably ever, with him being relatively healthy. And he's a little banged up. We saw the thumb. It's bothering him. But they're undisciplined. They're making mistakes. I felt like we had a chance if we just, again, played the kind of football that would give us a chance. And we did that. And then same thing with the Colts. I'm like, look, they're not a slouch. Don't get it twisted. And the guy that they're bringing in at quarterback, Sam Ehlinger, he can play ball. But if we play ball, we should beat them. I don't feel that way this week. There is nothing that says we should win this game. Nothing. Their defense, not great. We can move the football on them, but can we sustain drives? Can we get out of our own way? Can we not have penalties? Can we not throw a screen and lose 6 yards? I don't trust us to do that consistently throughout the game. Can we not get sacked? Can we stay out of 3rd and 11 and 3rd and 9? Can we not be 2 of 12 on 3rd downs? I don't trust us to do that. But I look at their offense and I'm like, shit. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, they added TJ Hawkinson, KJ Osborne. Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison. I don't like the matchup, but we'll see. That's why we play games, right? That's why they play the games, and that's why we don't play them on paper. They got motivation. I already told you the emotional can of gasoline was handed to us. It was handed to us. What we gonna do with it is the question. Either we can put the can down and never use it, or we can pour that thing all over this game, right? We can pour that emotional gasoline all over this thing and light the match. We'll see what we decide to do. Quentin Ruiz, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Quentin Ruiz, double up, thank you for doubling up. Who writes, what you said about Ron's ego has me really nervous that he will bring in Wentz just to show he was right. P.S. I need those glasses, LOL. I'm going to tell you right now. Ron, look, we all have egos. This isn't just a Ron thing. Ron has shown me enough times that he's willing to admit he made a mistake and move on. All right. He's done it. It isn't always the cleanest when he does it. It wasn't clean when he did it with Dwayne Haskins, but it was the right thing to do. Okay. It wasn't clean when he did it with Alex Smith, but it was the right thing to do. Right. It's usually not clean with him when he does it, but it's usually the right thing to do. When he benched William Jackson III, it wasn't clean, but it was the right thing to do. All right. Same with Trey Turner. It wasn't clean, but it was the right thing to do. I think if Heineke continues to win, again, that's the biggest thing. If we lose these next two games, it's back to Carson Wentz. It's back to Carson Wentz. If we win this game against the Vikings, no matter what happens against the Eagles, I don't know how you go back to him, because Carson handed you this thing at 2-4, and Heineke would be giving it back at 5-5. There's no way. There's no way that you can allow Heineke to go back to the sidelines and turn the team back over to a dude that had us 2 games under 500. So I think Ron he's slowly acknowledging that, hey, we might have to do the thing that's the right thing for this team, and that's go with Taylor Heineke. But look, understand, and again, this is human nature. If I make a move that I'm on the hook for, all right, this isn't, and look, the thing with Dan and whether they're going to sell or not, that plays a little bit into, how you move if you're Ron, because if you fail with the quarterback in that whole situation and Dan's still here, Dan's pissed. You could get fired because of that. If Dan is no longer here, it doesn't really matter, does it? Right? The next owner doesn't give a shit about you trading for Carson Wentz and Dan going in front of the gaming commission and saying, we finally got a quarterback. That next owner doesn't give a shit about that. So that doesn't matter. So the biggest thing will be, how does this team perform on Sunday? I think that will go a long way in determining who the quarterback will be in week number 11 when Carson Wentz is eligible to come off of IR against the Houston Texans on the road. And if you're going to put Carson back in, what better game to do it than on the road at Houston if you want him to look good against the Texans? And I say that, and he could go in there and wet the bed against the Texans because he's fully capable. We know he is, But we'll see, man. I don't even really want to talk about that because there's so much football between then and now. You got this game, you got the next game, and then we got to make that decision has to be made then. So, and the outcomes of these games will help determine what will happen. But understand, if you made the move Ron made, you too would be saying, hey, we got to get this dude another shot because we got to see if he can really do this or not. But also in the same breath, if you're trying to win and the dude that you put in as the backup comes in and he's getting it done, and Ron acknowledged today something that he hadn't done previously, that Taylor Heineke has gotten better. That's the first time Ron has said that. It's always been he's a gutty performer. He's a gamer. That's the favorite line. Everybody, he's a gamer. You know, hey, look, man, enough of that gamer shit. Enough of that. You might as well call me a game manager. You know, he's a gamer. If I'm Taylor Heineke, like, yeah, don't call me that shit no more. Don't call me a gamer no more. I mean, Heineke, that's not his personality. He's like, yo, y'all call me whatever the hell y'all want to call me. It's whatever. I'm in the NFL, damn it. Y'all can't tell me shit. Y'all can't tell me nothing, right? I ain't mad at him. But, you know, that's their favorite line. Oh, he's a gamer. Well, Ron is like, man, he got better. All right? He got much better. And so I think Ron is coming around to the fact that, hey, we might have something here. We'll see. But Ron, I love that Ron just continues to say, bro, it's about the Vikings. I don't want to talk about nothing else moving forward. It's just the Vikings. That's the way it should be. Mr. Ron B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mr. Ron B, OG, triple OG, writes, I would caution everybody to pump their brakes on this one until there's an actual deal in hand. I too would do that. The investigation into financial improprieties really helped me feel like, hey, this really has some legs, because it made everything make sense. But nothing's done. And I still look at Daniel Snyder, I'm like, your ass ain't just going to walk away, are you? You ain't just going to quit this shit, are you? So we'll see. I'm not counting my chickens before they hatch. Neither should you guys. I was going to start out the show saying, I feel for some of y'all, because a lot of y'all were already out dancing in the streets already. Like, you got to save the dancing in the streets for when this man is officially gone. Some of y'all lost y'all damn minds at the thought of this man selling. If this man turns out to not sell, some of y'all are going to lose your shit. And I feel bad for y'all. But I couldn't start the show off like that, because I wasn't dancing in the streets, but I would be one of those people, not necessarily losing my shit, but I'd be distraught. So that's why I'm putting up a little bit of a fence. Just to as a fail-safe, like, just in case this shit is too good to be true. I just got to protect myself. But man, I'm telling you, we getting close, and you can feel it. You can feel it. Mr. Ron B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. OG, triple OG writes, we've seen this kind of stunt by the Snyders too many times. When something's about to go down, that's when they make a move. Normally, though, it's like football related. Every time we think they're at their lowest point, they pull a rabbit out of the hat. And you're right. Usually, though, it's football related. Don't think they can get any lower than the Steve Spurrier situation. He pulls Joe Gibbs 2.0 out of his hat. Where did that come from? Oh, my God. You know, it felt like Dumb and Dumber. Just when I thought you couldn't be any dumber, you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself. That's how I felt when he went and got Joe Gibbs. You go hire Jim Zorn. That shit goes horribly. We're at rock bottom again. And somehow he manages to go and dig up Mike Shanahan, 2-time Super Bowl winning head coach. And you're just saying, wow, he did it again. Those were all football, though, related. I don't know. I don't know if he's got something for this one. I don't know. I don't know if he's got something for this one or not. All right. Let's see. Did I just pass something? I don't think I passed anything, did I? No. All right. Let's keep it pushing. Mr. Ron B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mr. Ron B writes, I won't allow myself to celebrate until I see the Snyders on board of Redskins won or his yacht out of town. I don't blame you. I just need proof. That's it. When we find out the sale is final, he's done, that's when it's on. I'm talking about we going live from the streets, bro. We going live from the streets. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member, or excuse me, double up. Thank you for doubling up, JP, who writes, props to Ron for keeping this team focused during the Dan crisis. Plus, Cam Curl has an 84.5 grade via PFF. I was so high on him going into the season. I'm not a big PFF guy, so those numbers don't mean much to me. But for those of you who are PFF stataholics, our entire safety group is killing it via PFF. And I went back and watched the game, not the film, but just the condensed version. Bobby McCain had a really strong game. So the safeties have been highly graded all season long if you are into that kind of thing. So they haven't played poorly, My gripes with Bobby McCain haven't been, and I told you I love me some Bobby McCain. My gripes with him haven't been from a performance standpoint. He's been in the right positions. It's just, hey, make a play, bro. The Tennessee play, initially he did his job. He stopped running and let the guy get behind him. The Eagles play, he's right there. He runs behind the play instead of undercutting it and making a play on the football. Let's make a play, bro. But he's always where he's supposed to be. Smart dude, heady football player. I love his leadership qualities. Like, you need Bobby McCain's on your football team in your locker room. Cam Curl is a dog. All right, we ain't got many. We've had this discussion already. He's a dog. You know who else is a dog in that secondary? Derek Force is a dog in that secondary. All right. So I think we're starting to acquire them. We're starting to pull it out of some of these dudes. Jamin Davis is starting to show us he's got some dog in him. Right? He bites. So we know the D-line has dogs. Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Sweat. Get Chase back, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, we already got a mean little rotation going with the ends. throw Chase in that mix and it gets even nastier. So props to Ron for keeping them focused. That, again, say what you want about Ron and adjustments, lack thereof during the game. Some of his, look, we could spend a whole show talking about Ron's clock management. We spent a whole show talking about that. And his rationale. I didn't care one bit for his explanation after the game in pertaining to the halftime. It's the same shit he said earlier in the season. I ain't trying to hear that shit. That's loser talk, as far as I'm concerned. That's what losers say. I ain't trying to hear that shit. But Ron knows how to galvanize his group. Ron is a man of the people, a man of the players. They love Ron. And it's going to be weeks like this week where that love for Ron is going to shine through. And if they win this game, you're going to truly see that love on full display. I want to win this game for so many reasons. One, because I like to win. Like, there's nothing better than winning. But I really want to see the raw emotion of Ron Rivera if you win this game, because I'm telling you, he's going to break down in the locker room when he gets that game ball, because there isn't a way he wins this game and doesn't get a game ball. I'm dying to see that. So I would love it if we could get the win for him this week. Because don't think for 1 second what he did last year for Montez Sweat when he lost his brother, what he did for Jeremy Reeves when he lost his mom last year. Don't think that shit is lost on the players. All we talk about is X's and O's, wins and losses, personnel decisions, which is what we should be talking about. We don't know Ron personally. We're not there with him day in, day out. So we don't care about those things. But those players in that locker room, they know Ron, the person, the man. Or as Thomas Davis used to call him, Chico. And anybody will tell you, which is why people around the league love him. Ron's a good dude, man. He's a good dude. And that's the only reason, if you want to be honest, I think that's why we're getting all this good juju. Of course, we ain't getting this shit on behalf of the Snyders. That's what's been stopping us from getting good juju for a long time. To me, it's not a coincidence that the most good juju we've had was when Joe Gibbs was here, 2.0. It's the only coach that has taken us to the playoffs twice in his tenure. No other coaching staff has done that. It's not a coincidence that Ron may be able to do it multiple times here. That he's turned around the way that people view this franchise, not from a wins and loss perspective. They still don't respect us in that regard, nor should they. But just from a negative connotation, yeah, we're still a joke because of all the things that have come out about Daniel Snyder, but we're not viewed as a joke when it comes to who's running the squad. And Ron Rivera. And so he's done a lot of good things. And these players believe in him. You may not believe in him. And there's been times where I didn't believe in him, which is why I got out of the car. But the players believe in him. And that's what matters most. So props to Ron for keeping the focus on Minnesota. It would be so easy with all the shit he's got going on for him to mentally check out. I think he's locked in even tighter because he's trying to take away anybody that's ever dealt with loss or dealt with a traumatic situation. You focus in on stuff more sharply because you're trying to distract yourself from the shit that you really don't want to think about. Eventually, you're going to be alone with your thoughts and you can't run from the shit. But when you can distract yourself, you're going to distract yourself. he's locked in. And he's got these players locked in. I'm going to tell you what. Minnesota's better than us, period. That's not up for debate. That shit don't matter on Sunday. If they don't come ready to play their best brand of football, the emotion of the day, the fact that we'll be in all black, I'm actually anxious because there's so many. I can't tell you. This is the most I've heard people say, hey, I'm going to this game. I'm going to this game. I'm going to this game. I don't know how well Minnesota Vikings fans travel. I'm pretty sure there'll be some purple in the stands. Don't get yourself all wrapped up in this blackout and thinking that, oh, we're going to cover the stands. But it'll be a lot of black. For sure. And then there'll be people that just don't follow directions. They'll show up in a burgundy jersey, right? But just that scene with Ron's situation and all of that just kind of, and then the excitement of thinking that there could be a chance that the Snyders could sell. There's a lot going on this week that has this fan base juiced up. It could show up in a bloodthirsty crowd on Sunday. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. All right. Let's see. Take Command for Life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Take Command for Life writes, hashtag Take Command. I heard the man. Take Command. All right. Red House, not Roadhouse. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, you think Wentz is playing the rest of the season? We're going to find out over the next 2 weeks. I think this next game in particular will go a long way in determining that, because we win this week, no matter what happens against the Eagles, I still think Heineke has a shot. And my initial thoughts were he needed to be perfect, 4-0. But I think Rivera has really warmed up to the athleticism. And I think it was this game that did it. Not the first game against Green Bay, because Taylor had the bat-breaking pick six, and he had to fumble. And so I don't think that game did it for him. I think it was this game, because Taylor's ability to move is what gave us a chance in this game. Wentz would have been sacked on both of those 4th down conversions. Wentz would have got sacked, especially the 4th and 2, where Taylor was stepping up to run. He sees that Colt defender looping around. He does a reverse, backs up, gets out of there, runs to his right, and finds Curtis Samuel. Wentz isn't doing that. And furthermore, 2/3 of the league isn't doing that. Okay? 2/3 of the league's starting quarterbacks right now aren't making that play. So Ron acknowledged that, like, yo, Taylor made some things happen with his legs, man. And he did. So Wentz isn't doing that. Unfortunately, I don't know what the hell happened to Wentz's athleticism, and I know he's dealt with some injuries, but he was athletic last year with the Colts. I don't know what the hell happened to his athleticism this year. He looks like Matt Ryan. He looks like a damn statue. And I think Ron wants a mobile quarterback. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, Lou, I tagged you on IG. I'm repping that Wild Goose jersey like I told you. Uh-oh, I got to check that out. He says, FYI, I rock with those rose-colored glasses on a regular basis out here. Oh, I bet. I mean, you in LA, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what you told me. Y'all on the left coast. So, yeah, these are my type of glasses, you know, in those type of environments. I love the lighter shaded glasses, but you know, you can never go wrong with the classics. You know, the dark shades either. But I always like the ones. I like different color ones, but you know, rose is the best. You know, it's one of my favorites. That and then like a yellowish, goldish type. But anyway, I digress. I got to check out that wild goose, man. Or as I think it was Metaphor called him, tame goose. Let's see. I'm reading y'all comments from when I asked y'all about the Commanders thing. Miss Perry says I rocks with it heavy. Mask Collector says it's too catchy not to rock with.